Let me see. Hi Denise. How's it hanging? Trying on some new music. Apparently it's lo-fi. I'm trusting that it's playing, but yeah, so I just came back from watching Inside Out 2. Watched Inside Out 1 on VOD. Okay. It was my day. There were I had actually one, two, I had four sessions scheduled for today, but for some reason, two people, not for some reason, for specific reasons, two people couldn't show up today, and I had a coaching session with the remaining two. And then after that, just watched the movie, and now I'm here. And really hot in California right now. So if it's super hot where you are, hope you are staying relatively cool. My dog took a shower. I bathed my dog. They're not the best bathers, so it was slightly difficult to bathe them. But now they're good. So first thing I want to talk about is the movie Inside Out. This movie apparently is number one box office. So wondering if people saw this movie. So some things to talk about in this movie. I'm not sure if all the things that I want to say are necessarily nice, but last time I reviewed the Pixar movie Soul, and I think I was way too negative in that video, and after recording it I didn't feel that good. So I think I'm gonna try and focus on the some depictions of ideas in the movie. Okay. So with that, let's get started with some recordings. Hey everyone! Today I saw the movie Inside Out 2. Hi. And as a refresher, because I basically forgot about the whole movie. It's been like 8 years. No, it's been 9 years, I think, since the original one came out. So I went on VOD and then watched it with my wife a few days ago, and then today I went to the cinema to watch this movie. The last movie before this I watched was Barbie, so it's like I haven't been to the cinema in a year. But anyway, fun movie with lots of different ideas that are more or less relevant to the topics of my channel, right? All these emotions, all these thoughts, and how they interplay with the primary character called Riley. And when it comes to Inside Out, the franchise, the series in general, I just find that there are lots of things that are just kind of shown, and then they're just kind of like, hey, this is how it is explained. But not all of them necessarily make sense, and not all of them are very like consistent. It does feel like the overall premise that they really wanted to go with is like, what if emotions had like personalities? But the fine details, I think, aren't really that well refined, but that's okay. So let's focus on the primary points of the movies. So for Inside Out 1, right, the primary point of the movie is to there's no one emotion that has to be like dominant in your life. There has to be kind of like all emotions have to be appreciated and felt. And that's a very important point that I try to make in my coaching as well. Because why? Every emotion, right? Same as actual real life you and the emotion characters in Inside Out. They both have one thing in common, and that common thing is that you have your best interest at heart. So Joy, although she is kind of very like overbearing and tries to dominate, basically other emotions in the first movie, why she believes it is the best option to take for Riley, right? And same with sadness. So sadness is kind of a weird example, which I find as kind of a critical point in Inside Out 1, because sadness doesn't really know what she's doing and she feels bad about doing it. But now talking about the other characters, right? Like anger helps Riley express herself, especially when things don't feel particularly just. Disgust keeps her clean, and fear keeps Riley safe, right? So just like that, all the characters ultimately want the best for Riley. And this is more or less the same for your life too. In your life, you may sometimes make choices that feel like you're gonna regret later, right? I ate like that whole tub of ice cream. I cussed out that friend. I slammed the door in my room and now I regret it. Okay, so those things, it seems like they're bad things that you did. But in the end, ultimately, those are choices that were optimal for you at the time of making them. So it's important to sit down without shame and without guilt to think about why that option was the best. Why couldn't I have been calmer? If that's your particular regret about slamming the door. Why couldn't I just pick down the spoon and close the ice cream, if it's the ice cream example? Sitting down with yourself and thinking about, why the fuck did I do this? It's less about that. It's more about, I have other options in my life. I have an entire range of freedom. But what draws me to this specific action? The more I understand that, the more I can either not feel bad about it because I understand myself better, or I see the drawbacks of my choices and then I can stop participating in it, right? So, regarding Inside Out 1, the primary point I want to make is that emotions and you, they both have your best interest at heart. There's an intelligence that works for you. So that's what I think about the first one. Now comes Inside Out 2. So, Inside Out 2 comes with the new cast of emotions, but the primary, spoiler alerts a little bit, the primary character that runs the show in Inside Out 2 is, as you can see from all these pictures, it's this orange character called Anxiety. And so, Anxiety is important because, according to Anxiety in the movie, fear keeps Riley safe from visible dangers, but anxiety keeps Riley safe from unpredicted, like a predictive kind of currently unseen dangers, right? And regardless of how the anxiety is portrayed in the movie, which is basically like a spoiler, I want to tell you a little bit about how I see anxiety and how I see that kind of anxiety ramping up to a point where it causes a legit panic attack in your mind. So, the important thing here in terms of what makes the mechanics of anxiety and panic attacks happen is the wide gap between the thing that you want and need to get, the benefits from that, and the loss and the devastation that you will feel when you don't get it. So, suppose if I do get good grades, I get a new bike from my mom. And that's like so important to me, right? Because why? All the other cool kids have it. So it's not just the bike. There's like other symbols of desire attached to that bike. So with that bike, I'm gonna be cool. I get to be out more, and now like I can practice the things that I've been seeing on YouTube. There's a lot of that desire, and my mom's gonna spend big money on me. So like, the more like attachments of desire come in, the bigger the stakes of getting that bike is, right? But okay, but if you don't get good grades, then what happens? Then I don't get the bike. Okay, so that's sort of like half of the anxiety. But what if your parents are very prone to physically punishing you, and so when you don't get good grades, you get the shit beat out of you, right? Which is something that happened when I was growing up in Asia. So now the stakes are, I either win everything or I lose everything. And it's this wide gap that paralyzes you. Because at every moment, whether you're being good or not, right? Okay, so Riley is playing a hockey game, and I'm about to score. Okay, so like the up to the swing is perfect, but now but what if I fail on the next one? What if I fail on the next one? What if I fail on what if I fail on the shot? And okay, suppose I do make the good shot, right? But then now it's like, but what if I get injured later? And then there's always a reason to worry and be anxious about, as long as that big gap between the get and the not get is present. And suppose everything does work out and you do get the bike. Good, right? It feels like, okay, that's a phase. But no, anxiety doesn't really work that way, right? Because now what's gonna happen is you're gonna acclimate to the excitement of having the new bike. And so the bike having is not gonna have that same kind of hit as before. It's gonna feel really good on the first day, but outside of that, you're gonna slowly get used to having the presence of your bike. And now, new objects will come into play in your life, and the stakes will be higher because now you've gotten your desire once. So you will want to repeat that pattern of getting your desire because having it felt really good at the time. And then now, on the other end, there's a lot of things to lose. And that dynamic is what creates these paralyzing anxieties, right? So while anxiety was the primary driver here, there are other emotions introduced. Like this one is embarrassment, this one is ennui, this one is envy. And and there's also nostalgia. I'm not completely sure as to why they particularly chose anxiety to kind of drive the show this time, but that and the my critique of the cinema aside, I think those are the primary points I wanted to make regarding this series called Inside Out. All right, so YouTube hasn't banned me yet, so I'm assuming my background music is okay, so hopefully I won't get copyright striked when I upload this video. Ryo, how are you doing? How are things going? Now, guess what? I am just learning that it is my channel's birthday. Yay! Is it? It's been a long time. Well, guess I hit the algorithm recently, but hey, it's been a wonderful year with all of you. I love being on YouTube. I love oh, look at that thumbnail. I love talking to you guys on stream and on the videos and on Discord and on everywhere. I just want to take this quick opportunity to say thank you for being a part of my life. Okay, now I'm done talking about the movie, so there's one other topic I wanted to make. Do you guys want to see some pictures? Yay. My actual birthday is also coming up too. Uh, this is my channel's birthday. Here are some pictures of Billy Jr. He just took a bath. So, and he's sleeping right next to me. He's still a little bit wet in this picture. This is a full moon picture I took recently. My friend Teresa said, "Did you look at the moon today?" I was like, "No, what's the moon today?" And then I looked, and it was absolutely beautiful. My birthday is July 7th. July 7th of 87, so it's like 777. I'm one lucky man. Should go to Vegas. But I'm also not a gambling man, so. Some other recent updates in my life. There's a India pilgrimage that's happening in next January, and I submitted the application for it, so I may get to go, I may not, but I submitted that. It's not just a visit to India like for leisure. It's going to be this rigorous pilgrimage that visits the life path of Buddha. So gonna go to India, gonna go to Nepal, and walk a lot, ride a lot of buses, and basically vicariously live through Buddha's life as we traverse the Indian continent. So applied for that. That's something that can be interesting in my life, but hoping I get in. But even if I don't, it's okay. How are your lives going? For the next one, let me turn off the music. Can now talk about the topic of path of life. Organizing my thoughts a little bit. Actually have another topic now that I'm thinking about it. Okay, but let's start with this one. The biggest theme or the topic in anyone's life at some point becomes happiness. And why this is your life always goes through a trajectory of ups and downs, right? And when you have the ups, it feels good. When you have the downs, it feels bad, right? But as human beings, as living organisms, we like feeling good. We dislike feeling bad. So, in our life, we tend to keep pursuing the things that give us the ups. So, for example, when you're growing up, if you have a good relationship with your parents, you want to continue having that good relationship with your parents, so you try to comply with your parents' wishes. And you try to be a good child. Why? Because that's what feels good. Suppose you have a relatively rocky relationship with your parents, and now for you, you will want to rebel and not listen to your parents. Why? because listening to your parents actually makes you feel miserable. And so you are in pursuit of things that make you feel good, so you will rebel. So while these two cases are kind of pointing at opposite directions, it's more or less the same thing. It's in pursuit of that feeling good. So your life will continue down this path of feeling good and feeling bad and feeling good and feeling bad. Okay, and now you will go to school, get some degrees. Doesn't have to be a university. You can go to trade school, or it doesn't even have to be a university at all. It doesn't have to be a school at all. You can still get like training for your jobs, right? And then you will enter society. You will participate in the economy. You will make some money, and then as you make money, you will want to make more money. And then as you make more money, you will want to make more money. And then you may come to peace with the amount of money that you make, or you may continue chasing it. But at a certain point, you will also evaluate what it means to live as you, and so on. Okay, so what I'm saying is you're gonna walk down a path of life. Now, this path can be informed by other people. So I can inform you about the things that you can keep in the back of your head. I can inform you about the practices that you can do. I can inform you about the books that you could read and such, right? But what I intentionally don't do a lot in this channel is advocate that my way is the way that everyone needs to do. So I recommend meditation for people undergoing certain things. I recommend bowing to people undergoing certain things because it's a totally good option to keep in the back of your life. But I don't insist upon the fact that this is the way to go. I don't insist upon the fact that Buddhism is the best way for everyone. Because why? This is my path, right? So my path was also informed by a lot of people. And ultimately, I look at those informations and then I choose my path and I walk. Why is this seemingly obvious thing so important for me to tell you today? It's because when in pursuit of these good points in your life, you may not just be informed by other people's opinions, you may start believing that other people's suggested ways and best practices are the way to go for you. And coincidentally, it may be the right path for you. But that leaves things into coincidence and chance, right? That means you are a product of chance and not your intentions. Now, that I have a bit of a problem with, because that means your happiness depends on certain things that are not you. And one of my deepest foundational beliefs that I have about life, not just my life but your life as well, is that anyone can be happy. You can be happy today with none of your wishes coming true. So it does take a lot of introspection. It does take a lot of time for you to eventually reach this kind of awareness and understanding. But, and you know what? It's right now, it's completely honest. It's okay for you to, believe in certain best practice for your life. You will want life hacks and you will want mentoring that will guarantee you success and such. Okay, so now the question becomes, but aren't best practices kind of best practices for a reason? Aren't people experts at something for a reason? And don't these experts give these advices for a specific reason? Yes, because in general, they turn out to be good. But again, there's nothing that guarantees that you are going to be in that general pool of statistics. So now, you can totally follow the general statistically good way to live, right? And it may really not be compatible with you. But chances are you can still get all the results you want. You can still get promoted. You can still get a lot of money. You can still get into romantic relationships with the people that you desired, and you can continue to get all the things that you think you want in your life. All these conditions that you want in your life, the car that you want, and the house that you want, and that relationship like with another person that you want, like maybe a hierarchical one, maybe a romantic one, maybe a separation. Like you can get all those things you want following best practices that you might not be necessarily aligned with. So for example, a really good way to make money is like scamming people, right? Scamming old people, scamming the people who don't really know technology. I've been scammed once, and I was trying to find an apartment, and I used the method I used to find my apartment when I was in college, Craigslist. I hadn't known that times had changed, but then now I got a guy who was like, "Hey, I have an apartment for you that you can live in," and then I was like, "Oh, great!" Like, blah 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 blah. Like, and then when can I pick up the keys? And then he's like, "Oh yeah, yeah." Like, but you know what? I'm overseas right now because of some business ventures, and if you give me the deposit, then I'll mail you the keys. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm not really in a rush, so that works fine. And so like, okay, so I'm in a Asian country that doesn't accept U.S. dollars, so you're gonna have to like give me some code for like basically like 7-Eleven money orders and things like that. Okay, so at the time I didn't know this was some shady shit going around, but at the time it sounded good to me, right? Okay, and then like $5,000 later, I realized, oh, this is a scam. Okay, so that was a valuable lesson I learned at $5,000, right? Okay, so now I know that's a path of life I could take too. I could take a bunch of people who are looking for apartments because they traveled from overseas and are looking for something, and you know what? It's totally possible to prey on them, right? And the guy was actually thorough enough to research like the real estate market of that that house. And so they looked for a house that was recently sold, and then decided to pretend that that sold house was theirs. Because why? It's empty, and everything looks good from the outside, right? So that's the strategy. That's how I could live my life too. And I get like robocalls, right? There's nothing stopping me from setting up my robocall shop. And I get emails from like crypto people and all these coins. And when there's a lot of websites that have like advertisement for like gambling and things like that, I could totally walk that path. And what's another really lucrative market like drugs, right? And even in my profession, all I need to do is just like guarantee you like great results, and then just kind of gaslight you into thinking that the reason that you didn't get your result is because you suck. And in order for you to not suck, you need to buy more coaching from me. So this is something that happens in the coaching industry as well. Okay, so why am I giving you this elaborate list? When you work against yourself, when you work against your principles, when you work against your path, your natural path and intelligence inside of you, it's gonna incur energy from you. It's gonna drain you. So one of the people in my community is a salesperson, and they don't really feel good selling because why? It just feels really manipulative to try to convince people that this product is like really good when it's, I don't know, maybe it's not that great. But there are people who really sell passionately because they really believe in the product. It's kind of like I do with my coaching, right? I believe in my coaching, so I'm happy to sell my coaching. So the sort of the good outcome here is that you're kind of being incongruent with yourself, and so you're following the supposed best practices and you are getting the results that you want, but you know that something doesn't sit right with you, and that's sort of the okayer possibility. Because why? you can make a decision to stop. And you can make a decision to reevaluate your life. Because why? You know that something's not landing on you. But the kind of the more unfortunate version of this is you don't trust yourself. And you don't rely on yourself. So what you end up doing is you start you start filtering out your own inner voice that tells you, hey, I'm not comfortable with this. I don't like doing this. And when you're in this state and you keep walking down the path of not your life, what tends to happen is you get burnt out without knowing that you're burnt out. It becomes a very insidious and latent killer inside of you. It slowly drains away the life and the purpose to live. And it slowly starts affecting other areas of your life. It starts impacting the way food tastes. It starts impacting how you feel when you what you feel when you deprive yourself of sleep and nutrition. Like, some people, when they are under heightened stress, they have panic attacks, right? But there's also people who just collapse and that's the end of their life. I have seen this happen in the corporate environment multiple times. People just collapse. Because why? There's no warning. Because year after year after year, they have learned to shut down that part of themselves because it's a distraction from getting the things that they want. And that is problematic to me because my belief is that as long as you are alive, you can be happy, right? But that takes away your life. So, the primary purpose of this video is to communicate to you this. Your way to success, again, it can be informed by external voices. It can be informed by popular opinion. But the path that ultimately will work for you is your life path. The choices that you make because they feel good to you. And you may be wondering, well, then won't I just do the things that I always want to be doing, like sleeping and not doing anything productive? What's so wrong with that? Take some time, take care of yourself, entertain yourself, give the nutrition and the rest that you need to yourself. And then, of course, you may suffer a little bit of money because of that. Okay. Then see what life is like when you don't have a lot of money. It's like a experience, right? And you may be thinking, oh, Billy, that's so easy for you to say because you have it all figured out. But I wasn't always like this, right? I know what it's like to be a starving college student. I know what it's like to not have the job figured out yet. I know what it's like to be fired. And I agree, it's a very stressful situation, but that situation and me compounding stress to myself are totally different things. And so, when you can relax about the short-term effects because your eyes are fixed on the longer-term path of your life, that's when life starts making some more progress. That's when your immediate needs are sufficiently fulfilled. That's when the creativity and that's when the deeper kind of inspirations inside of you are just gonna pop out of nowhere in the most unexpected timings. And in order to do that, you need the sensibility and you need that communication with yourself. And that starts with loving yourself. And loving yourself, we can talk about multiple times. Okay, someone messaged me on Discord, so I'm reading. Okay. Two topics related to unconditional love. I don't know, I feel like my topics recently have been very heavy hitting, but um, such is the questions that I get from the people who inquire from me. So, and I'm sure that it will end up helping you in at some point in your life. So, with that, well, let me make a recorded video about this on another day. But what I want to talk about is number one, a general observation that I have with people is that not many, well, many people who have problems with their self image actually don't know, they really don't know what it's like to love themselves. And so I think I want to make a video on how to start loving yourself. Because that is, in order for you to love other people, you gotta learn how to love yourself first, because that's the easiest target you have, right? This person who is always in your body, in your mind, that person's just basically you. And to give you kind of a spoiler, I think self-love ultimately comes down to accepting yourself for who you are, and this means not bullying yourself, not wanting you to change, just letting you be at the whatever state you are in. And that is the notion of love. But and so to get started on this path of self-love, the practice that needs to happen is self-expression. Just expressing what is on your mind, just expressing what is in your heart, and then watching your tendency to want to jump on it and want to beat it up, and just letting that just be. Laying it all out into the open, so that you don't get consumed by it. Like, you're watching a movie, and then when a movie is sufficiently immersive, you get to think that you are the main character in there, right? And you really associate in. But then there are some times where movies break the fourth wall, right? And also, someone next to you can be like, munching on popcorn too much, or like they're like drinking cola, like, and then you break out of that immersion, and then now you see that these are just movie characters playing their parts, right? You don't feel like associated like before. So, when you're consumed by your self-hatred, and when you're consumed by self-criticism, it's different From when you see yourself out here playing it out, that self criticism and that self harm, when you see yourself looking at it, although it can feel both bad, it's different because now you have a choice on whether to continue participating in it or not. Because why? You're not consumed by it. This is something I said to a community member recently too, but on YouTube there's a lot of like crime videos, right? And all these crimes that really change the course of a person's life, it happens in an instant. Like pulling that trigger or stabbing someone and or like, getting that car crashed, it takes like less than a second, right? And it's these instantaneous decisions that you make from one moment in being consumed by your mind. And for that pattern to break, you have to learn how to consciously let all the things out so that they don't stop being in your head. They're out into the open. And in an earlier video, I also argued that that's how you heal from stuff too, right? But it also requires, like, when you do it with other people, it does require, like, a non-judgmental kind of a witnessing environment. Because why? What's prone to happen when you do this in front of other people? Other people are gonna critique you. Other people are gonna agree with you. They're gonna disagree with you. They're just gonna complicate things, and they are not going to really help you put things out of you. So that's why it's gotta start with self-love. And if you want to do it with another person, I'm here for you. But to do it with yourself, that open and honest communication with yourself is the most important. And the other one, I'll actually talk about next time. Because right now I feel like writing an email. So I'm gonna be writing an email, but I'm gonna be around with some music on, so feel free to let me know if you have any questions. Okay. Say hi to Billy Jr. Sorry, I'm gonna mute the mic real. Denise, I see your question. Let me edit this sentence and I'll get to it. Okay, Denise is asking, how do you get past not having the energy to do something but still needing to do it, like going to work? You might absolutely hate your job, but it makes you feel like crap, but you still need to go. Like the mental energy it takes to get up is a lot. So that's an excellent point. So let me turn off the music. So, like you said, Denise, there are some things that have to be done, right? But there are things that I am forced to do. For example, like the situation that you described, like a job, right? So, typically people think, but I have to go to work, right? Because it's not even living inside of their head, the idea that I can just not go to work. Like, nobody is forcing me to go to work. It's just that when I don't go to work, I'm gonna not make money and I'll be unemployed, and then I'm gonna not be able to pay rent and things like that. So there's that already a branching path. Number one is you're aware of the degree of your freedom. Number two is you're not even aware that you have a degree of freedom. You're forced to do this. So the initial branch of Denise's question. And the first option is do I realize that I have a choice here? Number one is I have no choice. And the second is that, like, I have a choice. Okay, so cognitively, you know that you have a choice. You don't have to go to school, right? Like, you're not gonna get into trouble and you're not gonna like the result of it, but you totally can. You totally can starve yourself and not eat anything. There's nothing stopping you. But your body will eventually want to eat something, right? But it's a wide difference between you thinking that you have no choice in this life, you have no choice in this matter, versus you having a choice. So that's the one thing to uncover. But okay, going to your actual question, I have no choice. I have to do it. I feel like crap. So when there are things I have to do, I can either do it begrudgingly or I can do it gladly. This sounds like a really simple and bogus thing, right? If this is that easy, why don't everybody do it? So I want to tell you why people don't follow this approach. It's because, following your example, the idea of work, right? What does work mean to me? Work is something that I hate. So when I have decided that work is something that I hate, how can I have a good time doing something I hate? I can't. Therefore, it takes a lot of mental energy to force myself to do this, right? So, as long as work remains as this something that I hate, I can't get over this problem. Like, I can try tricks, I can try life hacks, but they're not gonna last a long time. Work is maybe a little bit too abstract of an example, so I'm gonna give you my other favorite example, cockroach. Cockroaches are gross as hell, right? Okay, So, as long as I think cockroaches are gross, how can I have a good time? How can I have peace of mind when there is a cockroach in my house? I can't. Because why? Cockroaches are gross. So this works in other ways too. There are a lot of marijuana smokers in the United States these days, right? Okay, so many people think that marijuana equals like relax. So as long as this is true, it's really hard to relax without marijuana. Also, it's really difficult to not relax when you're under the influence of marijuana. So, this inherent qualities that you find in things is the primary cause of things feeling difficult. And that's why it comes down to I have a choice. What I mean is, work, I hate it. But at the same time, work gives me money, right? At the same time, it gives me a line in my resume. At the same time, it gives me a network of people who can help me in the future, right? At the same time, work gives me like a social interaction. At the same time, work gives me free coffee. At the same time, work gives me something else. So, the more you actually think about it, the more work is nuanced and a little bit more complex than just this one thing called I hate it. Because why? You have this dilemma of I don't want to go to work, but I have to for a reason. There are a lot of good things that you don't want to give up. That's the entire reason you have the dilemma in the first place. Because, okay, punch yourself. Punching yourself is just bad, right? So why would you do it? You can drop it at an instant. I hate punching myself, so I just drop it at an instant. So if you really hate work that much, you can just quit, but you can't. And that can't implies that there are good, attractive parts about having the job. So, the more you can view this idea of work in a different light, the better it becomes easy to focus on the work, the positive sides of work. Okay, so suppose you are looking to get a better work. In this case, that line of resume is going to be really important, right? So, now, instead of just hating your work, what you can do is every day you are just collecting lines in your resume. And as soon as these lines are collected, you can try applying for the better work. So now work becomes a lot more motivating than this thing that you're forced to do, right? So, same with cockroaches. Cockroaches are gross as hell. And it's very difficult to love them. But one thing that changed the perspective of cockroaches for me is cockroach, this really big thing that brought a lot of horror into my life. I saw a dried and shriveled up cockroach corpse. And there were lots of ants carrying this cockroach corpse to its colony. So, I'm not afraid of ants. And I'm afraid of cockroaches. So, this thing that I'm not even afraid of eats what I'm afraid of for lunch. And that gives me this like paradigm break, right? So it's not really gross by itself. It's not just gross anymore. This is a circle of life. And this entity is as precious of a being as me, as a participant in this circle of life. So what you really have to understand in order to make the choices in your life that will make you happy is that nothing has one side to it, one inherent side to it. There's always a flip side to things. So, Billy as a YouTuber may be good, but who knows? Maybe Billy as a friend is kind of horrible. Maybe Billy as a coach is somewhat okay, but maybe as a software engineer he's maybe not that okay. Denise as a viewer in my YouTube channel is celebrated to me, but Denise's competition at school or like wherever, to the people that need to compete with Denise is probably a menace, right? Nothing has inherent qualities to it. And the point of this whole thing is for you to not suffer. And for you to not suffer, you have to look at the thing that brings you suffering in a new, different light. So that's the involved answer, but I think you're pretty smart and you're going to understand what I said. So you need to do it for a positive reason. Focus on that positive reason and take ownership of that narrative inside of your head. All right. That's my email. I'm gonna press submit and take a shower and hit the sack and have a good night. And I want you all to have a wonderful time too. It's Monday. Let's have a great week. All right. See you next time.